Did you see this in Nepal? There was this morning a major flood. It seems like 380 people are missing now. A major flood.
I saw that.
Yeah, and earthquakes around. This seems like it's
the end of days.
this. Yeah, it might be happening quicker than I think people are letting on.
I think people don't appreciate this, but for the past 30 years have been unique in human history in that there was peace generally. Okay, yeah, you had some conflicts in Africa, but no great powers were at war, so it was very peaceful. It was extremely globalized, right? You could travel around the world on your passport. There were no natural disasters generally, and this is unique in human history. And if you just look at how human history usually is, there's always wars between great powers. There's always a lot of calamities, famine. There's a lot of religious zealotry, and I think because we've been so lucky these past 30 years, it seems as though there's been a perfect storm of crises that will initiate not just World War III, but the collapse of civilization as we know it.
Yes. Did you see this in Nepal? There was this morning a major.
Shalom. I like to say all praises due unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Makakodash. Double honors to the apostle of Great Millstone, of whom I learned this truth, peace, and blessings to the elect. And we are in prophetic time, biblical times, and even, people that's, who's, a lot of people who don't know the truth, right? A lot of these guys on these social media and these streams and these so-called conspiracy theorists, as to what they called, which that whole conspiracy theorist, that's all coined by the FBI and CIA, to basically to try to discredit, a lot of so-called conspiracies, right? That that these conspiracies are not they were secret, right? But now a lot of people are exposing it, and a lot of them are they're known as agent provocateurs. You have guys like Alex Jones and all these stuff, and he's just controlled opposition and all this stuff, right? But you have this guy. This guy is he's Canadian, but he's a Moabite. Calls himself Professor Zhang or whatever. So-called. I believe he's a high school professor or some shit. But they have this guy on the mainstream, on mainstream news and stuff, and he's using a lot of the Israelite talking points, going into the scriptures and all these stuff. Right? So a lot of things was going on is it's prophecy. All these earthquakes, these natural disasters, all these are things that the Heavenly Father has orchestrated. Exodus 15:3, the Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name, right? And he's the Al-Shaddai, the almighty power, the almighty terrible, dreadful power, man. Right? That was he was known. He was known, in the for a long time, right? Going into the pre-flood, and then after the flood, that name Al-Shaddai, right? That always resonated with people, right? Because the Lord would judge these other nations, it would judge our, the 2/3 of our people, back then, right, during the time of the pre-flood, and then during the time of the rebellion, with when you read Genesis 10 and 11, the Tower of Babel, right, where all these nations, under King, what's his name? Let me get Genesis thing. Nimrod. Yeah, they want to like Nimrod was, like the power, right? And he wanted to set up the whole tower, and the whole thing what they're doing now, these high rises, and basically he built a tower in the top of Shinar, which is our so-called land of Iraq, right? And and they were all on one accord, right? Let me get Genesis 11 and 1. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make bricks, and burn them thoroughly, and that they may brick for stone, and slime for mortar, right? So, they were building, these cities, right? And they were like rebellion against the Heavenly Father, right? Right. You had the Cushites, all the other nations, right? The sons of the children of men, the sons of the wicked, and the sons of God, right? Our people were involved in that whole process, right? And they were in the same spirit, right? Doing a lot of secret ceremonies, doing a lot of rituals, right? It's the same thing, what our people is involved in, what these heathen are involved in. All right. Says they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly, that they may had brick for stone, and slime that they for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make a name. Let us make it says let us take let whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the earth, right? And that's what they were doing, right? They were speaking one language, right, which was the Hebrew, right? And they were building these cities, right? And they probably had high technology. I'm sure we're like definitely they had high technology back then, right? Because the scriptures in Ecclesiastes, what Solomon said, there's nothing new under the sun, right? Is there anything new, right? It have already been of old, right? So everything what's going on is all set up, right? I'm gonna play this one second.
Got some breaking news. The Justice Department now saying a Chinese state-sponsored hacking group went after the Federal Reserve, the U.S. Senate, NASA, the Energy Department, Health and Human Services, and the National Institute of Health.
Breaking news coming up. The FBI has announced that there have been attacks by China on U.S. government systems, including the DOJ, NASA, the Federal Reserve, the U.S. Senate, and more. Let's take a look at the latest headlines coming out in the past couple of hours with this FBI announcement so you can see it for yourself. U.S. says that Chinese hackers broke into the DOJ, NASA, the Federal Reserve, and the Senate. The Justice Department has announced that it has disrupted the Chinese hacking operations that were responsible for the break-ins at numerous sensitive U.S. federal agencies. In addition to that, the DOJ blames China for a string of hacks targeting federal agencies and hospitals, according to an affidavit filed Wednesday today. We're hearing this came out just a couple of hours ago. The incidents began back in 2018 and included attacks on networks at NASA and the U.S. Senate. These announcements coming out today, August 26, 2026. Now, this comes as well as we've been hearing about Iranian hackers revealing weak spots in the U.S. and the U.K.'s water systems, power grids, as the regime aims to maximize disruptions, we are hearing. And also,
So a lot of things is happening. Geopolitics here in America, and that's gonna affect Babylon, right? And they're saying China, Iran, these so-called hackers are so-called they are hacking the American government, the American system. But all of these things is all these things are all, a lot of them is controlled. A lot of these things was going on is controlled, right? This is called order of the chaos, right? And I'm gonna play another video as well, right? Because they want to shut off that they're gonna shut off the grid in certain states in America, right? And they're saying you have the premier of Ontario, his name is Doug Ford, right? And he's pushing he's going to be pushing, basically like these blackouts across these American states, right? They're saying the red states, which is the Republican states, that Canada, they want to target the so-called Republican states, and shut off their power, right? So all of these things is gonna cause, great war, right? This is gonna cause, this is gonna cause basically a purge, right? You had the purge election year. A lot of things is going on, man. A lot of things is going on in the spirit, man. So we gotta just watch as well as pray, because all these things was going on is biblical prophecy, man.
Received word, shockingly vulnerable U.S. power grid warnings coming out that could result in an 18-month nationwide blackout, experts have warned.
See, 18 months, right? So, it could be months, basically a year and a half, right? Where certain states, certain cities will have no power, right? So that's gonna cause, chaos, right? Because the slogan of the New World Order is called Order of the Chaos, right? That all of this is all orchestrated by these Luciferians,
More updates coming out on that with video footage. And also, as you guys know, we've seen Suisun City, one of the cities here in California in the United States, that was shut down.
So all of these things are part of the New World Order, just like what they did during the Tower of Babel, right? And they the ultimate goal now, they want to depopulate, a lot of so-called people on earth, right? Sheeple, like that's what they call the people, right? the elite, they call them useless eaters, right? So you know this is a part of their plan, right? And they want to establish this whole agenda and fulfill it by 2030, and we're in 2026, right? We only have about 4 months. We have September, October, November, December. So yeah, we have 4 months, right? And they're moving very fast. We have Trump, right? Trump is doing his job. He's doing an amazing job, and this is gonna speed up our prophecy. So let me get Genesis 11 and 5. And the Lord came down to see. Sorry, 4. Genesis 11 and 4. And they said, "Go to, let us build us a city and tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth." And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, and which the children of men builded. Right. So let's look at the word, the tower, for Genesis 11. We're gonna get it. And get my blue letter. So Genesis 11 and 5. One moment. So Genesis 11. So let's look at the word tower in the Hebrew. In the Blue Letter Bible. So the tower, it is Magdal. Hebrews, the Strong Concordance, Hebrew 4:25. Tower, elevated, stage, a pulpit, right? Let's look at the root word. To grow, become great or important, promote, make powerful, praise, magnify. So this is Gadal. Do great things, to grow, become great, magnificent, right? And Nimrod was, he was a magnificent man. He was a murderer. He was a killer, right? And he had a lot of power, right? And he wanted to have control and power to reign over everybody. The sons of the wicked, sons of the children of men, right? The children of God, and this is what they want to do, man. They want to do all these smart cities, right? These 15-minute cities, these data centers that's gonna be sucking up a lot of the water, right? And to build all their data centers, and which is gonna be linked up, with your, like your cryptocurrency, right? People are gonna be rationed, right? Everything is gonna be monitored. How much you shit, how much you piss, how much you eat or drink, right? Everything is gonna be monitored. Water, everything is gonna be monitored, man. And this is a part of the plan of these wicked elite, man. Right? And that's why the Lord said, if it wasn't for the elect's sake, no flesh shall be saved, but only for the elect's sake, those, it said the flesh, it said the 144,000 is going to be saved, just paraphrasing it. Yeah, but, it's going to be, it's going to be very bad, man. And we have not experienced nothing like this in our lifetime, right? This is gonna be a great destruction and a great trial that's gonna come. It's gonna come upon the world, but it's gonna come here in Babylon, because your so-called American citizens is not used to, um because these so-called American citizens, like they're used to, living, comfortably, right? Like they're not used to not having food, you know. America right now, is basically a third world country, right? A lot of homelessness, right? People are losing jobs, people can't make ends meet, right? So a lot of things is going on, man. Says, the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men builded, right? So the Heavenly Father, He sent His angels, right, like to, like to scout out the land, right, through their chariots, right, and document what's going on and tell, and report it, what's going on unto the Lord. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, right? And this is what they're doing, right? Because even though the Lord, right, after that, when you read this verse, right, the Lord, He, like He confounded their languages, and they had to be able to, like, they had to, the Lord, the Heavenly Father, he sent His angels to confound the language, to confound their languages, because they were only speaking the Hebrew, right? And basically, the Lord, he confounded their language. But now they're, during this time, 2026, right? They're all speaking, like the same code, the same language, right? They're speaking the same language, the same symbols, right? And one of the, they're saying that the English language, right, to in order to be like a pilot, right, like you have to be able to speak the English language, right? So so it shows you that, that this place is nothing but, like it's showing that, like Babylon, America and stuff is nothing but, Babylon, or spiritual, Babylon, and they're all speaking the same code, the same language, this new world order. They're all for it. You have Russia, you have India, Pakistan, North Korea, South Korea, right? They're all on the same language, they're on the same code, right? But they're fighting for power because they know that America is losing their power. So they're thinking that, okay, China is going to be next, or Saudi Arabia is going to be next, or Russia, or like everybody's trying to fight for that power. But that power is going to be lost, man, because Yahweh Shai, right, he's going to break the image, right? That when you go into Daniel's 7, right, when you read about, like Nebuchadnezzar, right, and the image, right, and there was no one to interpret the dream, right? Like the Magi's, that they weren't like they weren't able to interpret the dream, and the only guy, like the only man to break it down was the prophet Daniel, right? Like to break down that dream, right? And we are, when you read about, the toes, sorry, like when you read about the head, right? I believe that's the like the Medes, sorry, like the Babylonians, right? Right, the Medes and the Persians, right? Then the like the Greco-Romans, right? Then the toes, right? And basically we're in the image of the toes, right? Which is the NATO, the so-called European Union, the NATO, right? You know, in when you read about the TOS too, you know, that was during the time of, you know, like the Roman Empire, right, where a lot of Germanic tribes was fighting for power, right? But now we're in Rome 2.0, right? And now, you know, you have the European Union, you know, you have NATO, right? That's fighting for power in Europe and around the world, right? You have, I believe, South. Like you have a lot of, I think, Australia, um, New Zealand. You know, a lot of these Edomite countries, America, Canada, right? These are Edomite countries, man. That's fighting for their power, man. And that image is about to be broken, you know, because Yahweh Shai is gonna break their image. Is gonna break the whole image, man. So let us go down, and there confound. Sorry, the Lord said, "Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do. Now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their languages, that they may not understand one another's speech." So the angels did that, right? They confounded like the languages um of the heathen, right? And the heathen and the sons of the wicked, right? And um the only people that were able to speak, you know, to understand, you know, the language was the Hebrew, right? Which was Iber, right? The children of Eber, which we come out the children of Eber, right? When you read about the descendants of Shem, right? And then we come out the children of Eber, and then Peleg, and then, you know, I believe that Peleg means divided, but Eber, it means ancient, right? So the Lord, he confounded the ancient language of the Hebrew, and that's why, you know, and basically like that's why the language now is Babel, right? You know, all these languages around the world, man. You have all kind of languages. You have thousands, if not millions, of languages around the world now, because of this prophecy, Genesis 11, man. The Lord said, "Go, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have a man to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their languages, that they may not understand one another's speech." And the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. And the Lord, and there is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did confound the language of the earth, and the earth thence did and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of the earth. And that's what the Lord did, right? And basically now we are in the virgin daughter of Babylon, which is America, right? Let me get it. I believe it's Isaiah, I think 47, but let me put it. Virgin. Yeah, Genesis, Isaiah 47. I'm just gonna play this too on I'm just using my laptop, so I'm just reading Isaiah 47, with my Bible, right? My King James Bible. So Isaiah 47:1. Come down, sit down in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon, because this is basically America is nothing but Babylon, reincarnated, right? And that's why they practice they practice they practice a lot of sorcery. They get a lot of their so-called left-hand knowledge, from those from those Babylonian schools of worship, right? Those Babylonian ideals, right? Egyptian ideals, right? Well, I believe I think one of these I think they're like a Grammy or one of those things, right? And then what the guy is like, get down on your knees, oh virgin daughter of Babylon, right? Like, these are two Edomites, they're probably Amalekites, right? So they know that they're Babylonians, right? They're spiritual, Babylonians, right? This, America is nothing but Babylon, man. Certain cities in America is named Nineveh. The whole customs, right? So at the sit down in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon, sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, right? So the Chaldeans were high level, magi's or magicians, right? Sorcerers, warlocks, right? And and this is the same thing that these Edomites are doing, right? They're doing the same thing, right? Doing the same rituals, even more on a higher level, right? They're doing a lot of things, man, and that's why they have the CERN, right? They have it, I believe, in Switzerland and all throughout the world, right? Where they have these deep underground military bases, these CERNs, right? And they're opening portals, right? They're doing all kinds of things, man, right? And they're getting a lot of access. They're getting a lot of access, through left hand deities that the Heavenly Father has given them, right? But the Lord is about to, shut a lot of their access, a lot of their knowledge, and a lot of those demons, like who they're, that they consult to. Soon those demons are not gonna have any answers, no response. you So, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate, right? Because America was very tender and delicate, man. Um, you know, they had, that they were making a lot of profit, right? Through, the whole transatlantic slave trade, right? Through these wars, right? These industrial revolution, right? Where a lot of industry was being developed, a lot of car, manufacturing and this and that. All right. And the American dream, right, was, everybody was living good, right? That women didn't have to work, right? And basically starting in like the 50s and 60s, that's when they started the whole, women's liberations, right? And basically that allowed that the Rockefellers, or the Rothschilds, to basically basically set up that whole women's liberation, to have the woman, like go to work, all right, and basically like to divide the family, right, and basically yeah, that and basically like that's what's basically happened, right, where these women are now so-called independent now. They could do this and that, right, and they could like they could do whatever, right. And basically that, now the so-called even the Edomite man and the Edomite woman, like there are odds, right? The so-called Edomite woman is sleeping with Jake, or so-called Latin tribe, or damn Elamite or some shit. It's crazy, bro. So America right now, they're not, like they're not tender anymore, man. Like like this place like this cherry is about to get fucked, right? It's been getting fucked, but not, but it's about to be like, it's about to be on fire, man. The whore is about to be on fire, man. The whore is gonna about to get burned, man. Take the millstone and grind mill, uncover thy locks, and make bare the leg, right? Like see what's going on with the whole Epstein, and what's going on, man, with the whole Amalek, right? There's the small hats, the things what they participate in, right? The like the rituals and the blood Passover and all the whole bunch of shit, man. The Vatican, right? The so-called like the popes, sorry, the Pope, and like the people that are so-called priests, right? Like what they be doing, like this place is getting exposed, bro. Take the millstone and grind mill, uncover thy locks, and make bare the leg, uncover thy thigh, and pass over the river. Take thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. That's exactly what's going to happen. I believe later on tonight there's going to be a blood I believe like an equinox, right? I believe at around 9:30 or so p.m. in the eastern eastern time. That there's gonna be a lot of things. There's a lot of things going on in the heavens, right? So so the Lord, so we know that Yahweh Shai, is very near, right? And there has to be Jacob trouble, right? And because that's the only way that the 144,000 will obtain the kingdom, is through going through Jacob trouble, going in, like going through the MOTB system, right? The Neuralink, the central bank digital currency, right? So they're moving very fast, right? And it is amazing, right? I believe it's in Job. The triumphing of the wicked is short, right? So they're triumphing right now, but they know that ultimately that they know that they're gonna lose, right? Because they're gonna be fighting against angelic powers. They're gonna be fighting against Yahweh Shai and against the angels, right? And they're gonna be the fighting against the the intercontinental ballistic missiles that will be shot through Babylon and certain parts of the world. But Babylon will never be inhabited again. Israel, will be inhabited, but it's gonna be purged, right, through fire. Right? It says sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt be no more called the Lady of Kingdom, right? So yeah, so that's why America right now, um, many of the leaders, the people, they don't respect America, man. All right, and they're losing um power, like they're losing faith, right? Like nobody, like America's a joke, right? America, like used to be, like America was the, that was the man, like the American, Edomite man, you know, like like they had power, right? They had, because they had, with the whole fat boy and little boy, with the whole Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which were the German scientists that came to America and set up those things, right? It says Isaiah 58 says, I created the smith that blow off the coals in the fire, right? So the Heavenly Father made Esau, the weapon, which is the equalizer, right? And, and he used that power. He used that power, man, and that's what he's doing, right? Because Esau is nothing but a warmonger, man. Right? They go all over the world. They fund both sides of wars. Right? That goes into the whole Rothschilds, and many of these elite families, right? That be funding these wars, man. Both sides, right? For hundreds of years, man. Right? So let me play this.
Entire cities, operations had to be rerouted. People were unable to pay their bills. And in addition to that, we've seen cities like Gary, Indiana, hit by natural disasters, out of power and unable to get access for people for 13 days. We are hearing that now, August 26, 2026, they are finally getting power. But there is major concern right now about what these attacks, these cyber attacks could do. And we're hearing that China is the number one for cyber threat attacks against the United States. We're hearing they outnumber the...
Yeah, so these other government, these so-called military and their their spy agencies and stuff, man. Like, this is, anything could happen, bro. That's going to affect, millions of people, having no power, no water, like everything is going to be fucked. And this is what's going to happen, man. All right, it's going to be the purge, man. I Am Legend,
United States' cyber defenses 50-1 for every one cyber defender that we have here in the United States. There are 50 attackers hitting from China. In fact, China has outright come out and said, we are attacking your critical infrastructure systems. In fact, we've already compromised many of them that you don't know about. And when the war between China and Taiwan erupts, if the United States decides to get in the middle of it, to come try to be an ally in the Pacific to Taiwan, China said, we will initiate those cyber attacks and shut off your water, your power grids, your communication, your transportation, your ports. We will disrupt them all simultaneously at a flip of a switch.
So yeah, America's fucked up, right? Their navy's gonna be affected, right? And there's a lot of the Navy, American Navy, that's over there in the Strait of Hormuz, right? And like they're running out of food supplies, right? They are in great distress, right? And basically, like, December is when the draft was gonna be instituted, man. The American draft that from 18, I think it's 18 to, I think, 35, right? That basically like they're gonna basically abduct you out of your house, and then if you don't want to fight in the American war, the American army, you're gonna be in prison. All right, so a lot of things are gonna be happening. A lot of things are happening all at once. I'm gonna play this one too. I think this is What's this guy's name? Yeah, his name Godfrey. He's like he's a comedian. All right, so let's play this quick.
Doug Ford from Ontario, Canada, said he's about to cut off electricity in the United States. I didn't know they had a switch up there in Canada. That's some gangster. I'm turning off your lights because you are pissing us off. Because of our administration, he's going to cut off the lights, but he said he's going to hit the red states the hardest.
The red states are Republican, blue or Democrat, but the red states, we're going to hit hard.
I'm glad I'm in New York City. I'm glad I'm in New York City. See, racism is expensive. Hatred will cost you your mother lights to go out. You better wake up. This ain't working. Canada is angry at the U.S. North America is fighting. That's how up our administration is. But keep it up, guys. Keep it up in the red states. When them lights go out, you're going to be reading in candlelight.
Yeah, it's real, man. And, you know, so
You are pissing.
you won't be able to have access to your so-called online banking, right? All this is all control, bro. Right? So you won't be able to have money and cash. You know, people's gonna be looting, robbing, graping, you know, doing all kinds of shit, bro. Right? But this is Second Esdras 9:1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before. So this is the prophet Esdras, right? That was speaking to one of the angels. His name was Uriel. Then shalt thou understand that the very same time when the highest will begin to visit the world which he made, right? So all of these things was going on, right? The Lord, Yahweh, right? The angels, right? Because they were the ones who created this whole existence that we live in under Yahweh or Adam, right? And through the angels and through the 144,000, right? The first fruits who was with Yahweh, you know, in the beginning of creation, right? So, you know, this place is gonna be fucked straight up. Then shouldest thou understand that the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made, therefore when thou shalt see earthquakes and upwards of the people in the world, that's what's going on right now. Earthquakes all over the world, right? You have Venezuela, you had Colombia, Peru, Mexico, all over. Indonesia, Japan, right? Like Nepal, what do you call it? Nepal, over there in India, in that area, right? Where basically like a mud flood, man. Right? Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes upwards of people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of these things from the days that were before thee, even from beginnings, right? So this was been going on, man, right? That the prophets, right, the Lord, the Heavenly Father, he made his, you know, he inspired the prophets, you know, like to write these in a book, in a scroll, right? And basically, you know, like that's why we have the composition, you know, of the 1611 Bible, right, which was originally translated from Latin, Greek, Hebrew into English, right, through you know, King James, right, which King James was of the Stuart, which he's a swarthy man, a so-called dark-skinned man, Israelite, right? So likewise, as that is made of the world, have a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. So we're seeing the end of the world. We're seeing the end of Esau and the heathens world right before our eyes, right? And it's gonna happen in our lifetime, right? And with this whole thing, with the power outage, right, it could take months, years, right? And so it's gonna cause a lot of chaos and hell. But we just gotta in these times just pray, that the Most High will send his angels, send a power from on high, because we're gonna have to have divine intervention, right? Because Esau has the technology, they have the drones, they have a whole, they have the super soldiers and a whole bunch of shit, right? Like the Jacobs, like the persecution, right? Because you have like these Edomites, these skinheads, and these Edomite militia groups, right, that are on code, and that's ready. They're ready, man, like for war against the tribes, right? Against everybody. Esau's ready, bro. For like as all that is made in the world have a beginning and an end, the end is manifest. So that's why 2 Esdras 6 and 9 says, for Esau is the end of the world. So we're seeing the end of Esau's power, his dominion through the world. That's why I said Job 9:24, the earth is given to the hand of the wicked, right? Through his whole Renaissance, his Renaissance Christianity, right, where he destroyed like the images of the true patriarchs, the saints, right, and destroyed our images throughout Europe, and start his whole Renaissance, right, which means rebirth, and that's what they did, right? And for hundreds of years, right, Esau's been on power. He's been in power, right? Starting with the Borgia family, Pope Alexander VI of Rome, the Bauer family that changed their name from Bauer, which like Bauer means peasant, right? It's a German, right? Bauer was a German name, which means peasant, but they changed their name to the Rothschild, right? And basically, he had Meyer Amschel Bauer. He had 5 sons, right? And he basically he gave him like the blueprint, like like to become like financiers and bankers. All right, and that's what they did, and they funded they funded wars. I believe the Napoleon War, right? The English War, right? And yeah, and like that's what they've been doing, man. They've been funding wars, doing things, especially with us, like massacring, the tribes, so-called North American Indian, use so-called you Seminole Indians, or you Reubenites, you Ishakarites, all the tribes through North, Central, South America, the Caribbean, right? Esau's been on our ass, bro. Right, doing doing that disease warfare, doing a whole bunch of shit, bro. Right, so you Edomites, you heathen, they're gonna have to pay, like the piper, right? And who's the piper? Is Yahweh Shai, right? And he's going to he's not coming back as a happy, as a so-called a good Samaritan. He's coming back as an angelic power, man. So for like as all that is made in the world have begun and end, the end is manifest. Even so, the time also of the highest have a plain beginning in wonders and a powerful works, and the end ending in powerful works and ending in effects and signs. And that's what's happening. A lot of major signs, major judgments. Like this year, we're basically like 4 months out. Like we're like like 4 months out of 2026, right? Like this is gonna be like the end of 2026, but a lot of things is going on, man. Right here in since 2026, a lot of judgment, right? A lot of things been going on, man. Shall be preserved from the said perils, and shall see my salvation in my land, within my borders, for I have sanctified them for me from the beginning. So these are the elect that was sanctified with Yahweh Shai from the beginning of creation. you know so if you are destined like to be saved and to be of the elect, it's already written. There's nothing that nobody could do, right? It's only Yahweh Shai. They know if you're of the elect or not. So we are approaching exciting times, man. So we gotta just hope and pray that that we're of the elect, we're of his body. Then shall they be in pitiful case, which now have abused my ways, and that have and they that have cast them away despitefully shall dwell in torment. So a lot of guys, who like who fell out, went back into the world, you know, um, trying to so-called better themselves in this fucking wicked society. Not like not coming to camp, not making videos anymore. You're just gone back. Like that's what's going on. All right. A lot of guys like we're right here in Toronto, a whole bunch, right? you know, a lot like decade, like probably could say probably at least 15, 16, almost 20 guys that that came in the camp, or whether or would come by. A lot of these guys, like they're no more out here, coming to camp, or you know you know it's crazy, right? But and that's what the Lord said, many are called, right, and few are chosen. So we gotta be diligent and pray that that Yahweh Bashim Ashai will grant you salvation during these times, because it's gonna get real. So if you didn't have a relationship with the Father, if you didn't have a relationship with Yahweh Shai, right? If you weren't dwelling in the secret place, that's it, man. There's nothing that that you could do. For such as in their life have received benefit and have not known me, and they that have loathed my law while they had yet liberty, right? So even though a lot of these guys, right now they're in grace right now, right? But they're abusing the liberty, and they're not like a lot of Jake, is that bullshitting, man. All right, a lot of these guys might watch our videos, but they don't really come to camp, because even when we're by Christy Pitts, a lot of these guys be watching our video, but they don't come to camp. Right here in Ontario, right here in Toronto, or the GTA. Right, a lot of these guys knew where we were when we were by Victoria and Dundas, over by the Eaton Center there. So now, when all hell's breaking loose and whatever, like you won't be able to find us, right? Because like we're just in the spirit right now. So, you know, like, you can't take this, you know, like, you have to take this, you know, this grace period serious, man. For such as in their life receive benefits and have not known me, and they that have loathed my law while they yet had liberty, when as they yet place of repentance was opened unto them, understood not, and but despised it, the same was known after death by pain. So that's gonna happen, man. You know, Yahweh Bashim Shai is gonna judge, you know, these reprobates, right? These flunkies, you know. It's serious, man. It's not a time like to fuck around with Yahweh Bashim Shai, man. So we gotta just pray that, you know, that we stay on the right course day by day, and, you know, stay, you know, diligent, stay disciplined, you know, and try to follow the Lamb to the best of our ability. Yahweh Bashim Shai. So with that, I'd like to say all praise is due to Yahweh Bashim Shai Bashim Kakwadash. Double honor to Apostle of Great Millstone. Peace and blessing to the elect. Shalom. Abad Baba.